Hello my loves, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. If you are new here, hi, hello, my name is Loey. I sometimes stumble in my own intro because I know that you all just want me to say hi, hello-y, my name is Loey. And it's not that I don't want to give you what you want, I just think that brands that I work with in the future might think that I'm 12. But maybe that's not a bad thing. So today I'm back with another installment of 3 internet urban legends, and I have found that this is a really cool way to just umbrella some really weird things that I find online. I feel like everything from creepypasta to just like these urban legend folklore style stories that we all have passed around on the internet are really cool to just hear about in one inclusive series. So I have 2 more urban legend, like proper things that you may have even heard of outside of the internet, just urban myth style stories for you guys in this video. And then the other story that I have for you is more of a traditional creepypasta, but they're all really interesting to explore both in their fictional and also potential real world scenarios. So without any further ado, get yourself a drink, get yourself a snack, and let's settle in for some creepy, truly terrifying internet urban legends. This first story is one that I've heard other people say that they've heard of plenty of times before in different iterations, but I had never personally heard of this one. So you guys will have to let me know down below if you've ever heard this story before. And it's basically the story of hide and seek gone horribly, horribly wrong. So it begins a little something like this. On a bride and groom's wedding day, they are having the ultimate party with all of their family and friends. And in this particular story that I'm taking from, it took place on like a farm where there were tons of places to hide and be found, essentially. You know, maybe that's how some people think when they look at a wedding venue. They just walk in and they're like, man, I could play a mean game of hide and seek here. So after the wedding, during the reception, the bride decides that she wants to play a round of hide and seek. The groom was supposed to be the first it, and so the bride wound up hiding herself in a large trunk. And so the groom is finding everybody, he's finding the kids, he's finding the other family members, he's finding Aunt Becky, you know what I mean? But he's not finding his beloved bride-to-be. So earlier I said that the bride had hidden in a large trunk. Well, the problem was that the trunk was actually in the attic of the home. And so nobody found her that day. But her groom thought to himself that perhaps she had just left the venue early. So he goes home, he realizes she's not home, she's nowhere to be found, and himself along with her parents file a missing persons report. The police search the house high and low, they look everywhere for her. Every city is searched around them, every town. No stone is left unturned, and yet she never turns up again. Her new groom, as well as the family, is left forever to be asking themselves why and how this happened. But years and years and years later, the father of the bride went up to the attic to clear out some things that belonged to the now deceased mother of the bride. And as he's going through the things, he came across a large trunk. And inside was the corpse of his own daughter. When she hid there, the story says, the lid had closed and the rusty parts of the lock had latched together, trapping her there. Yet, she still had the smile. It seemed as though she was doomed to spend eternity playing the game of hide and seek. You know, there's something that just creeps me out a whole heck of a lot about the idea of finding a body with a permanent smile on their face. And also just how sad that whole story was. In other tellings of this story, the bride's sister goes to hide in the very same trunk and finds the body of her sister covered in blood from trying to claw her way out of the trunk. There are so many different tellings, and probably you've heard one of them. I never personally have, but I thought that the story was super creepy, and I was kind of surprised I had never heard a telling of it. It is, of course, just an urban legend. There is no fact around it. This has never happened in real life before. At least not that we know of just yet. But it's a super creepy one nonetheless. In any case, I'm sure this will be one that you think of the next time that you play your round of hide and seek. make sure that you can get yourself out of wherever it is that you're hiding. All right, the next one is more of a traditional creepypasta, and I was shocked. I had never heard of this creepypasta before. If you look through my internet search history, all you would find is me searching for best creepypastas, like all-time internet urban legends and scary stories, and I am on Reddit no sleep like every single day of my life reading spooky stuff. So when I realized that this was like a super popular creepypasta that had gotten like gold on Reddit like 4 times, I kind of couldn't believe I had never heard of it. Or maybe I had and I just never actually read it. But it's called Room 733. So I'll link the full story on Reddit down below for you guys, but it goes a little something like this. Room 733 at a certain university has been plagued with students committing suicide for years. And it has haunted the school's history for generations, but with the recent widespread internet invention, the stories and legends surrounding this room have spread more and more. But at the time of 2 young girls named Lydia and Becca moving into room 734, directly next door to 733, publicly, there were only 2 people talked about in the official history of room 733. So Lydia and Becca are moving in. They're learning all about the terrifying history behind this room. No one is allowed to live in 733 anymore. Just between the stories, between the horrible things that happened there, it is basically used as a glorified supply closet now. And Lydia and Becca don't exactly have a choice, so they settle into their new dorm room next door to 733. But very quickly, in October, after the semester starts for the year, they hear the windows next door to them in 733 slamming shut, opening, slamming shut, opening over and over and over again. And they're really freaked out, but they think it has to be a prank. Someone's just gone in there to mess with them, or, you know, maybe it's like some kind of like hazing ritual for like a fraternity or a sorority or something. So they're telling whoever it is next door, hey, knock it off, stop it, you're not being funny. And the noises continue. So Becca winds up leaving the room and peeking outside to see if anyone has opened the door. And to her horror, room 733 is padlocked. It is permanently shut from the outside. Nothing is going in there. So whatever was in there was not coming nor going physically. These strange events continue. Becca hears someone knocking at the door, at the closet door specifically, when she is just trying to study while alone in the room. They then, the 2 girls, hear in the middle of the night somebody whispering from the room over. They place their ears directly to the wall because they're super brave, and they hear, "Never taken mouths of fools." As they literally have their ears pressed against this door, they hear a massive bang on the other side. And Becca tells whoever is in there, knock it off. This isn't funny. It's not a funny prank. Just stop, you know? That's when the doorknob on the door connecting the 2 rooms begins to try to turn on its own. And luckily it's locked on their side and it's permanently locked on the other side. But Becca begins freaking out. That was the last thing she expected when she told whoever it was on the other side to stop. So in a moment of panic, she drops to the floor and looks underneath the door to see who it is on the other side. To her surprise, she doesn't see feet or any people or anything. She just sees a ton of dusty beds and chairs and stuff on the other side of the door. But as her eyes adjust to the darkness, she sees a massive glowing yellow eyeball staring back at her. And that's when the girls realize that the room is like inhabitable. Like you can't live in this room. They can't sleep. They can't do anything. They literally can't exist in room 734 next to room 733. So they wind up putting in a notice for like a room change request, and as they're processing it, the university being they, as the university is processing it, they decide to consult with the local paranormal group, like the Paranormal Society group of the university, to see if they could be any help. Turns out to kind of be a bust. So Becca tries to expedite the room change request, and this is when she meets Alice. Alice is very well versed on the history of room 733, and while she can't really give an update in terms of the room change request, she can give a little bit of backstory onto what exactly is in that room. Alice sheds light on the fact that 5 people died in room 733, not 2. And every few years or decade after everyone who could remember the last death has graduated, they will open back up room 733 to be lived in again. And this keeps happening and keeps happening until another student dies, and then they block it off, and then it happens again. Alice explains that whatever is in there is something very old and very evil, and was the result of a Ouija board game gone horribly, horribly wrong. Whatever it is in there, it cannot be stopped. And so Becca and Lydia just patiently wait for their rooms to be changed. And as Becca is blow drying her hair one day, she looks back up into the mirror to see the dusty room 733 reflected back at her, as though she is standing in that and not in her own dorm room. She sees something move behind her in the mirror, runs out, and vows to never, ever go back. There is a man who works in the administration building who has been there since the first death. So Alice and Becca decide maybe they could get an answer or two out of him as to what that thing could possibly be. So as they're trying to track him down, he's avoiding them day in and day out until his secretary informs them that he actually quit the entire school because he couldn't handle the idea of being pressured into talking about whatever was in that room. But at this point, thank God, Becca and Lydia have officially been moved to their new dorm rooms. So it's kind of just a curiosity now. What is in that room that is keeping those girls up all day, all night? What is it that has tormented so many students in that room? So Becca and Alice, having one more day to kind of figure it out until the room change is done, they go to the library and they ask the librarian if she knows anything, if there are any reading materials on what happened there. And the librarian winds up telling them that she actually lost her best friend as one of those deaths, and she was a victim to that room. And they're listening to her story, and the librarian recounts watching her friend crawl out of that tiny, tiny window and jumping. But that's when Becca says, but I've seen the windows in room 733. They're huge. They're not like the normal dorm rooms that we have. Our windows are small, but those windows are massive. And that's when the librarian says, no, you're thinking of the supply closet next door. Room 733 is right next to that. And that's when it hits Becca that she is living in room 733. And they just moved the freaking numbering down. Horrified and knowing Lydia has been alone in that room for an entire day now, Becca and Alice run back just in time to catch her jumping from the ledge. All around the room are drawings of everyone Lydia's ever loved. Her mom, her sister, her family, her friends, all drawn dead and completely disfigured, and the most disturbing things you've ever seen in your life all over that room. Becca, after watching her best friend and roommate jump to her own death, is beside herself and so panicked. And as she's looking around at these drawings, another one shoots out from under the door at her, and she picks it up to see a different drawing, and one that didn't look like the rest. This one is of Lydia sitting where Becca is now, and something is in the closet staring back at her. And that's when Becca realizes that she can see a long face in the closet staring back at her. Alice, realizing what has happened and what is going to happen next, tells Becca that they have to go, and quickly they run out. And from that point on, the school banned anyone from living on the entire 7th floor. But Becca, knowing their history, kept tabs on it, and she would call back every single year just to make sure that the room has remained empty. And on the 9th year that she called, the person answered the phone and said, oh, you were requesting information about open rooms, right? I have great news for you, because the 7th floor has just opened back up. I thought that creepypasta was insane, and honestly, that light summary of it doesn't cover anything. So I highly recommend checking it out down below, but it's definitely a creepy creepy story with so many twists and turns at every angle. I never had like the college dorm room experience, so I never had to go into something like that, like terrified that wherever it was that I was gonna live would be super, super haunted. But can you imagine, like, and it's not like something like an apartment where you can say, all right, I need to switch units, please. Like, and maybe not even that that's any easier, but just to think, like, to be forced to live somewhere like that where you know so many lives have been taken. It was just terrifying. And yeah, a really, really creepy story. No historical backing, thank goodness. No truth to this one, but really creepy nonetheless. For our third urban legend, let's talk about a good old-fashioned babysitting experience gone horribly, horribly wrong. And this one I had heard of, but it's super creepy. And even if you have heard of it, it's definitely a weird one to be refreshed on. So essentially, a young girl is babysitting a little boy and a little girl at a couple's house. And the couple is a bit eccentric, we'll say, in their decor. They really like clowns of all things. And the babysitter is like definitely freaked out by this. There are like clowns everywhere. Clown dolls, clown statues, clown figurines, freaking clown noses. You know what I mean? Like, they are just absolutely everywhere. So as she's babysitting the kids and they're going through their routine and playing games and stuff, she just the entire night feels eyes on her, and she doesn't know if it's just the dolls that are creeping her out. But then she pinpoints one exact massive, like, human-sized doll that's in a rocking chair. It's just freaking her out. It seems so lifelike. Like, every time she walks past it, she feels like it just like has eyes on her, and she can swear, like, sometimes she thinks she sees the rocking chair like moving from this massive clown doll. And so she's giving the kids their dinner, she's putting them to bed. All the while, this clown doll is just giving her the freaking creeps. So the parents wind up calling and they're like, hey, we're gonna be a little bit late, is that okay? And she says, yeah, no problem, like, everyone's in bed already, we're all good. But if I'm gonna stay a little bit later, do you guys mind if I take this giant freaking clown doll out of the rocking chair? Like, can I just put it in your room, something? It is creeping me out so badly. And the parents are like, the clown doll in the rocking chair? And she's like, yeah, it just seems so creepy and so real, and like, I don't know, it's just been giving me the weirdest vibes all night. And then the mom interjects and she's like, get the kids, get out, go to the neighbor's house and call me the second you're there, and like, do it now. So immediately the babysitter is like, oh my God. She runs, she gets the kids, she takes them next door. All the while, this like clown doll is just like still sitting there in the rocking chair, unmoving. When they get over to the neighbor's house, she calls the mom back and she's like, hey, we're over here, like, what is going on? That's when the parents inform her that one of their neighbors had been experiencing a bit of a mental break and had broken into their home many times to try to take their children. They never had any proof to give the police, but now he was sitting there in a clown suit, waiting to strike. The police came that night, arrested him, the babysitter was paid, and moved on with their life, and everyone lived happily ever after. Now, in some of these stories, the house isn't filled with a bunch of clown dolls. It's just that there is a single clown doll and it winds up being an intruder. Some of these, there is no backstory. It's just that they don't have the clown statue, but nonetheless, it is a super freaky one for the ages, and it is one that every time that I tell it, oh my God, it just sends chills up and down my body. There is something so fundamentally weird about that, and about someone pretending to be a doll. Once again, no clown dolls were harmed in the making of this video, and that has never happened in real life, but again, something pretty freaky to think about, if you don't mind my saying so. Well guys, that has been 3 more internet urban legends for your listening pleasure, and I do hope you all enjoyed. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I love you guys very, very much, and I will see you in my next video.